Tonight, a woman requests a copy of her father's will from the county courthouse 11 years after he died. The notary stamp on the signature page shows a Thursday in late October. Her father had been in the ICU since the Saturday before. He was not discharged until the following Monday. He could not have traveled. And a teacher who watched a student disappear in February of 7th grade. Welfare checks filed, counselor contacted, no response. Receives 8 years later, a message for college email address she doesn't recognize. 5 stories tonight. A woman who found the wrong date on a document she was never supposed to look at. A server who spent 4 years trying to figure out what the thing with the mushrooms, the way it used to be, actually meant. A man who went looking for photographs of his parents and found a deletion log. A woman who co-signed a favor at 21 and found it again at 31. And the teacher and the email. Story 1. A woman who accepted for 11 years that her father had cut her from his will before he died. She had never contested it. Receives a call from her dying aunt, who says she remembered the signing differently. The woman requests the court's copy of the will. The notary stamp is dated a Thursday in late October. Hospital records confirm her father was admitted to the ICU the Saturday before. He was not discharged until the following Monday. He had not left the floor. Story 2. A server at a mid-range Italian restaurant has had the same couple at table 14 every Sunday for 4 years. Every Sunday, they order the usual and then ask for the thing with the mushrooms, the way it used to be. Every Sunday, no one in the restaurant knows what that dish is. Not the current chef, not the manager, not any server who has worked there in the last 8 years. Our narrator finally decides to find out. Story 3. A man goes looking through his family's shared photo backup for a picture of his late mother he wants to print for her birthday. The album for the years 2018 through 2021 is mostly empty. The backup's activity log shows 847 photos were deleted in a single session at 2:47 in the morning, 4 months after his mother's death. The account that deleted them belongs to his brother-in-law. Story 4. A woman applies for a mortgage and is denied. The lender tells her she has a delinquent co-signed account. She has not co-signed anything in her adult life, or so she believes, until she remembers a favor she did for her sister on a Tuesday afternoon 10 years ago. And Story 5. A teacher, a student who stopped coming to school in February of 7th grade. 8 years of not knowing, and a message on a Thursday afternoon from a college email address she had never seen before. Our first story comes from our /legaladvice. Our narrator is a 34-year-old woman. She posted this in early spring. Her father died when she was 23. She had not been close to him for the last several years of his life, and she had been told by her stepmother 3 days after the funeral that he had revised his estate documents the previous autumn and that she had not been included. She had not contested it. She had been grieving in a complicated way, and the amount at issue had not been substantial, and she had told herself it was probably fair in some abstract way she had never actually examined. Her father's younger sister, our narrator's aunt, was diagnosed with late-stage cancer in February. In March, the aunt called and said she wanted to tell her something while she was still able. She said she had been present when the estate documents were signed. She had been asked to witness, not to notarize, just to witness, and she had stood in the room. She said she had been troubled by it at the time, though she had not said anything, and that she had been troubled by it in the 11 years since. Our narrator asked what had troubled her. Her aunt said, "The date was wrong. I remember the date because I remember where I was that week, and where he was." Our narrator requested a copy of the will from the county probate court. This cost her $11 and took 6 business days. The document arrived as a PDF. She read through it and found the notary page at the back. The notary stamp was dated a Thursday in late October. She had kept a folder from a year her father died, not out of sentiment, but because her stepmother had forwarded some of his mail to her, and she had put it in a folder without looking at it for years. In the folder was a card from a hospital chaplain service, dated the following Monday. She remembered now that he had been admitted the Saturday before. She called the hospital and requested his admission records. They confirmed he had been admitted on a Saturday and had been in the ICU through Monday morning. He had not left the floor. The attorney's office where the will had been signed was 40 minutes away. She looked up the notary's license on the state licensing board's public database. The license had been expired for 19 months when the stamp was applied. She consulted a probate attorney. The attorney identified two independent issues, the timing of the signature and the lapsed notary license, and said each would need to be examined separately. A handwriting analysis has since been ordered through the probate process, which our narrator says she cannot discuss in detail because the matter is ongoing. What she can say, as of the date of posting, is that the will has been placed under a formal challenge. Her stepmother's attorney has requested a continuance twice. Her aunt has provided a sworn affidavit describing what she observed. Her last line, "I spent 11 years assuming he had made a decision. I am no longer sure anyone asked him." That story is about a document that was supposed to be straightforward and wasn't. Our next narrator's mystery was much smaller, but it had been open for 4 years, and it bothered him in the specific, restless way that small, unsolved things often do. This story comes from r/TalesFromYourServer. Our narrator has been a server at the same mid-range Italian restaurant for 6 years. He posted this last autumn. Table 14 is a corner booth near the bar. It seats 4, but the couple who come every Sunday only ever need 2. The hostess who has been there the longest says she remembers them from at least 8 years ago. Every Sunday, without fail, they order the linguine with clams, the house salad, 1 glass of the house white, and a sparkling water, and the thing with the mushrooms, the way you used to make it. For 4 years, our narrator has taken the order related to the kitchen and returned to tell them, with genuine apology, that he wasn't sure what dish they meant, that he'd asked the chef, that unfortunately they didn't have something matching that description. They always nod, order the chicken marsala instead, eat it without complaint, and tip 22%. He had asked the manager about it in year 2. The manager had been there 5 years and didn't know. He'd asked the head chef, 3 years on the job, who didn't know. He'd asked the owner, who had bought the restaurant 8 years earlier, who said the place had changed hands twice before that, and that the man who had run it for 15 years before selling might remember. The owner still had the previous owner's number. He called from the host stand, put on speaker. The previous owner, we'll call him Frank, picked up on the 3rd ring. Surprised to hear from them. The owner explained that one of his servers had a question about a menu item. He described the couple at table 14. Frank was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Those are the Larsons. They've been coming since 1994. Is Diane still ordering the clams?" Our narrator said yes. Frank said, "The mushroom dish, I used to call it the harvest risotto. Porcini leek, a splash of marsala, good Parmesan, fresh thyme. I never wrote it down. I just made it. When I sold the place, I didn't think to leave it behind. I didn't think anyone would ask." Frank described the dish in enough detail that the current chef spent 2 weeks reconstructing it. On the 3rd Sunday after the phone call, our narrator brought the couple their usual drinks and said, "I think we might have found the mushroom dish." He says the woman put her hand over her mouth. He says the man looked at the handwritten card our narrator brought. Just the risotto, described plainly, and then looked up with an expression he still has not found the right words for. He brought them the risotto. They ate most of it in silence. Before they left, the woman told our narrator that she and her husband had gotten engaged at table 14 in 1994, that the mushroom risotto had been on the table when he proposed, that they had come back every Sunday since, first to the old restaurant, then to this one when it changed hands, hoping someone would remember. The man tipped $40 on a $62 check. Our narrator's last line, "I've been a server for 11 years. In 11 years, I have never had a table go quiet the way that table went quiet. It was the good kind." Our next narrator didn't have that quiet. He had a different kind, the kind that settles over you when you found something and aren't sure yet what to name it. This story comes from our /TrueOffMyChest. Our narrator is 38. He posted this 4 months ago. His parents died within 14 months of each other. His father in 2020, his mother in 2021, both in their early 70s. The deaths were not sudden, but they came quickly enough that our narrator feels the years 2018 through 2021 contain most of the last real time he had with them. He had been wanting, lately, to look at photographs from those years. He manages the family's shared cloud backup, an account he had set up for his parents in 2017 so his mother could share photos with relatives. After she died, the account remained active under his name. His sister and her husband had been added as contributors at some point. When he opened the 2018 album, it loaded with 42 photos. He remembered there being far more. A birthday trip, his father's last fishing week, holidays. He checked the account's activity log. Between 2018 and 2021, 847 photos had been moved to trash and then permanently deleted from a single account. All of it in one session, 2:47 a.m. on a Tuesday in March 2022. For months after his mother died, the account belonged to his brother-in-law. Our narrator called his sister, not his brother-in-law. He asked if she knew anything about photos being deleted from the account. She said no, she didn't think so. He asked if her husband used the account. She said maybe to upload something once. He told her the number, 847. He told her the time, 2:47 in the morning. He told her the date. His sister was quiet. Then she said he was in Portland that week for work. Our narrator found an old email chain from that week, a hotel confirmation his mother had forwarded to him months before she died for a family visit that had been canceled. The hotel was in their city. The dates matched exactly. He is not a forensic investigator. He cannot say with certainty whether the hotel record contradicts what his sister was told. He also cannot say why his brother-in-law would delete 847 photographs of his dead parents at 2:47 in the morning. What he knows is that the photographs are gone. The cloud service provider told him the permanent deletion was more than 12 months old. They could not be recovered. He asked his sister for an explanation. She said she would ask her husband. She did not call back for 9 days. When she finally did, she said, he says he was cleaning up storage. He says he didn't realize those photos were important. He says he's sorry. Our narrator writes that he has spent a long time with this explanation. He writes that he does not know whether he believes it. He writes that the thing he keeps returning to is not the specific images, though he mourns them, but the fact that whoever made that decision made it at 2:47 in the morning in silence and told no one. His last line, "My parents spent their whole lives photographing the people they loved. I want to believe it was a mistake. I'm not sure I do." Our next narrator made a decision she had also mostly forgotten 10 years earlier and found it again in the least convenient possible place. This story comes from our /personalfinance. Our narrator is 31. She posted this last spring. She had co-signed her sister's car loan 10 years ago when she was 21 and her sister was 19 and needed a vehicle to get to a new job. It was a 4-year loan on a used car that cost $11,000. She had signed the paperwork in 20 minutes at a dealership, thinking of it as a favor, thinking it would be done in 4 years and she would never think about it again. She had not thought about it in 10 years. In January, she applied for a pre-approval on a mortgage. The lender called 2 days later. She had been denied. The reason was a delinquent co-signed account with 14 missed payments recorded over the past decade. She asked for the account number. She recognized the loan servicer's name. She called them. The loan was still open. The car, per the most recent registration, had 240,000 miles on it. The balance had been paid sporadically. 14 payments spread across 10 years had been missed or significantly late. She called her sister. She asked about the loan. Her sister said she'd been paying it. She asked about the missed payments. Her sister said she hadn't realized the credit impact would show on both names. She had thought, since she was the one driving, that the payment history was primarily hers. Our narrator asked when the loan was supposed to end. Her sister said, for years. Originally. A pause. Our narrator. When did that change? Her sister. When I refinanced it. In year 4. Our narrator had not been notified of the refinance. She had not consented to it. She had not, she now realized, read the original contract carefully enough to understand whether consent would even have been required under the terms she'd signed. She spent 3 weeks working through the situation with a housing counselor and a consumer protection attorney. Because she had co-signed the original loan, the refinance had, technically, extended her liability Though whether doing so without explicit cosigner consent was legally sound was a question the attorney said was worth examining. As of the date of posting, the matter was not fully resolved. 4 of the disputed negative marks had been accepted for investigation by the credit bureaus. She had also had a longer conversation with her sister, which she describes as not comfortable and probably necessary. What she wanted people to know, she writes, is this: when you co-sign something for someone you love, you're not doing them a favor for 4 years. You're doing them a favor for as long as that account exists in any form. Make sure you know how long that might be. Her last line, the car is still running. I have never seen it. And our final story tonight is also about something that continued longer than expected. A connection that survived an 8-year silence. A message that arrived on a Thursday afternoon from a name she recognized immediately. Our final story comes from our /teachers. Our narrator has been a middle school English teacher for 14 years. She posted this in autumn. She taught 7th grade English for 12 years at the same public school. In the second semester of her 3rd year, she had a student, we'll call him Marcus, who had been struggling since September. He was bright in the way she had learned, over years, to recognize, quick to understand things, slow to engage with them, because engaging felt like agreeing that the place he was in was worth investing in. In February of that year, Marcus stopped coming to school. She filed 2 welfare checks through the school counselor. She spoke with his homeroom teacher. She was told a family had moved. She marked him withdrawn from her roster. She did not forget him. Teachers carry the students who fell through in a specific way. Not guilt exactly, but the residual weight of something that never reached a resolution. She also thought about the book, a chapter novel about a boy who builds a raft to escape an impossible situation and ends up somewhere neither he nor the reader expects. She had been reading it aloud to the class when Marcus stopped coming. She had never finished it with that group. 8 years later, she received a message at her school email address, which had been forwarding to her personal account since she changed campuses 2 years earlier. The sender domain was a state university 4 hours away. The name in the sender line was one she had not thought of in years and recognized immediately. She opened it. He said he wasn't sure if she was still at the school or if the address still worked, but he found her name in the staff directory and thought he'd try. He was a senior, graduating in May. His degree was in secondary education. He wanted her to know that he had read the book, the Raft book. He had found a copy in a shelter library when he was 16, a year after he had disappeared from her class, and had read the whole thing in one afternoon, lying on a cot on the top floor of a building on a street he had not wanted to be on. The book had been the only thing in the room that felt like it belonged to him. He said he had not known, at 12, what books could do if you let them. He had learned it at 16, in a shelter, from a book a teacher had been reading to him before he left. He said, I don't know if you remember me. I sat in the second row. I never raised my hand. I'm going to be a teacher. I thought you should know. Our narrator wrote back the same evening. She told him she remembered exactly where he sat. She told him she had kept reading after he was gone, then stopped, then closed the book and told the class they would come back to it, and never found the right moment. She told him she had thought about him. She also told him she had never finished the book aloud to that class. He replied within the hour, How does it end? She photographed the last 3 chapters from the copy still on her shelf and sent them. He wrote back, That's a good ending. Our narrator's last line. I have been teaching for 14 years. I have had students who went on to do things I could not have predicted, and students I lost track of, and students I still wonder about. I have never, before or since, received a message that made me feel the work was so clearly real, that it had moved, even when I couldn't see it moving. He's going to be a good teacher. I can tell. 5 stories. A woman who found the wrong date on a document she waited 11 years to request. A server who spent 4 years on a mystery and found an engagement from 1994 at the end of it. A man who looked for photographs and found a deletion log at 2:47 in the morning. A woman who discovered a 10-year favor she had forgotten about. And a teacher, and a student, and 8 years in a shelter library, and a book that finished on a Thursday afternoon. If any of these stayed with you, the channel keeps making them. Tuesday and Friday. Subscribe and you won't miss the next one. Thanks for listening. That's a good ending. Chapters. JSON. Chapters. Title. The Notary Date. Start under sword. 470. Subreddit. Legal advice. Permalink. /or/ legal advice /comments /pilot 6story 1 / sentiment tense length _class title The Thing with the Mushrooms start of the word 1220 subreddit TalesFromYourServer permalink /or/ TalesFromYourServer /comments /pilot 6story 2 /table _14 / sentiment uplifting length _class medium title 2:47 a.m. Start in this word 1870 subreddit TrueOffMyChest permalink /or/ TrueOffMyChest /comments /pilot 6story 3 /log sentiment tense length _class medium title The Car She Never Saw start _word 2510 subreddit personal finance permalink /or/ personal finance /comments /pilot 6story 4 / sentiment twist length _class medium title second row never raise his hand start word 3100 subreddit teachers permalink /or/ teachers /comments /pilot 6story 5 /mail / sentiment uplifting length _class long